สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ Hello John
Recording in progress.
Sawadee Panajan, and hello everybody.
Hello John and hello everybody.
Oh, that's
Thank you
Leanne, is it?
so
Hi, Leanne.
Yes, it's me.
Good.
How are you, John?
Good, thanks.
Yep. Hi, that's good. We're gathering today for our monthly.
Hmm.
Tức là chị vẫn nghe. you heard my question. So my question about Gochara, and yesterday there was a question about it, and the question was Gochara meaning objects? And then we talk about what, like, basically Tambat already explained about what it means. But my question is it correct to say only when there is right understanding, then we would then use the term Gochara, otherwise it's not applicable? Is that correct?
I think
so?
Jonathan asked you what Gochara was. He was trying to get a little more from your own understanding.
Yes, first we need to understand what Gochara
I don't think
means.
I hear, because when
Can you hear me now?
when Tantam was talking, I would not hear the question from.
Can you hear me now, Leanne? Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me, Leanne?
Yes, but I think Sarah was talking and I could not hear Sarah.
Now, can you hear me?
See, I can't hear Sarah.
No.
Then
Yes, we can hear from you.
no, I can't hear the question. Họ nói của Sarah bằng tiếng Anh.
Okay.
Problem with the system.
Cô Tâm dịch đi cô Tâm, tại vì nó vậy Khánh Tâm thấy sao?
Sorry, John, it was a problem with the audio system, so just hang on a moment.
Right, take your time.
Seems we're all having technical problems today.
Chị nghe câu tiếng Anh của cô Sarah nhưng mà chị không nghe được. Không để nó tự làm. Nãy em chẳng nghe câu hỏi luôn. Không.
Chị làm chi cho em. Không được chị Tâm ạ. Bởi vì là như thế là chị nói là hai không được.
Khánh có. Khánh có.
Dạ Khánh có.
Sorry everyone for holding the discussion, but okay. You can hear me, right, John and Sarah?
We can hear you.
Oh,
Yes, I can
okay.
hear you clearly.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us
That's
now?
better. Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. So Gochara is the object, but when we're talking about the Gocharas, which the Buddha referred to in the context of, for example, the Upanishya Gochara, it's referring to the object that can be understood. So seeing can be Gochara because it can be the object of understanding now. So when it's the object of understanding, it is the Gochara, the Upanishya Gochara, the object that is understood at this very moment. Computer, table, these are not the Gochara that the Buddha referred to because there cannot be understanding of what is not real. So when there is, like you say, when there is right understanding, it is understanding of the suitable Gochara, the object to be understood, even when it's just the intellectual understanding about the reality. So in general, Gochara can be any aramana, but in this context of the development of understanding, it is the object that has become familiar as the object of understanding, the object that the understanding has got used to knowing, used to understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the suitable gochara now? The object that has been carefully considered, ready to be the object of understanding at this very moment. So Nibbana, people ask about Nibbana, but Nibbana is not the object of understanding now. So what is most useful is to talk about that which can be understood at this very moment. This is why we talk about what is seen now, what is heard now, the seeing now, the hearing now, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling. These are the objects that the understanding can become used to, that can become the habitual objects to be understood intellectually, and then deeper and deeper, closer and closer, until it's the direct understanding of the characteristics of these realities.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to me, because without right understanding, there's no idea about Nama and Dhamma. I'm sorry, Nama and Rupa. No understanding about reality. And for that reason, those cannot be the object of understanding. So it cannot be Upanishaya Gochara. Yeah, I think
Sound is heard, whether one's ever heard the Buddha's teachings or not. But if there's no understanding, no familiarity with the reality of sound, then it's not the Upanishaya Gochara, it's not the object that is habitually understood. So this is why we hear and discuss a lot about these realities in daily life, the daily realities that can be known, like sound, hardness, pleasant feeling, clinging, seeing now, because gradually there can be more and more familiarity with these realities, those that experience an object and those that don't experience anything, in order to get used to the understanding that there's no one there, no thing there at all. But it has to be what is now in order for the understanding of these gochara to develop. If we just talk about details, so sampaticana jita, santirana jita in the process, these are not realities that appear now. So they cannot be the Upanishaya Gochara, or they can just be a little intellectual understanding. But what we're talking about is what can be known now, what can appear now, so that there's more and more familiarity with the characteristics now. And often, I think it was last time, or often people ask, why do we talk so much about seeing and what is seen, hearing, what is heard? Because these are the common gochara. These are the realities that make up life now, what appears now, that there can be understanding and familiarity with, so that the habit of beginning to understand dharmas in life as anatta can begin to develop firmer and firmer, so there's more confidence, less doubt, more understanding that no one is here, no one is there, no thing is here, no thing is there. There are just these different conditioned dharmas arising and falling away. And this is why we don't talk much about jhanas or nibbana or lokuttara citas or past lives. We talk about what can be known now. Otherwise, the understanding can never develop.
Thank you, Sarah.
And Leanne, I'll just add a bit about the use of the term gochara, because I think people are a bit puzzled by Gochara. Its literal meaning is resort. And resort has a number of meanings, but it appears in a statement from the Buddha where he said, here a bhikkhu dwells restrained with the patimokkha restraint and possessed of proper conduct and resort. So what does it mean to say a bhikkhu dwells possessed of proper conduct and resort? So in this context, conduct refers, generally speaking, to behavior, and resort refers to the people with whom one associates or the places at which one goes to associate with people. And so the question then is, what is the proper conduct for a bhikkhu and what is the proper resort for a bhikkhu? And in the Visuddhimagga, it gives a number of different interpretations of proper resort. And there's the way it's conventionally understood, and then there's the deeper sense in which it can be understood. So at the more superficial level, shall we say, it says, what is improper resort? Here someone has prostitutes as resort, or widows, or old maids, or taverns, that is, pubs, hotels. Or he dwells associated with kings and other sectarians in unsuitable association with lay people. Or he goes to spend time with families that do not support the Dhamma, and so on and so forth. There's a long list of improper resort, and the proper resort is the opposite of that. And so that's the literal interpretation of resort. But later on, it explains that proper resort is of three kinds: as support, as guarding, and as anchoring. And this is what we are considering when we talk about the gocharas. So we're talking about what is the proper resort for a bhikkhu, or anyone for that matter. Again, there are conventional meanings at a more conventional level and meanings at the level of Dhammas. For example, the first one, proper resort, as support. And it says, a good friend who exhibits good talk, in whose presence one hears what has not been heard, who corrects what has been heard, who rectifies one's view, etc. So, in other words, association with the good friend is proper resort as support. And proper resort as guarding says, a bhikkhu having entered inside a house or gone into the street goes with downcast eyes, not looking around, etc. So that's the one level of understanding the second gochara or resort, proper resort as guarding. And the third one is a proper resort as anchoring. It says, it is the four foundations of mindfulness. on which the mind is anchored. For this is said by the Blessed One. Bhikkhus, what is a bhikkhu's resort, his own native place? It is these four foundations of mindfulness. This is called proper resort as anchoring. So that is a level of understanding the gochas. If we think of those in terms of absolute realities, they all, of course, involve kusala, and perhaps with some level of understanding. And in the ultimate sense, the proper resort for a bhikkhu is his mind is anchored on the understanding of Paramattha Dhammas. He's not interested in other things. And that is why we say, as a way of explanation, that Gochara means the object of the consciousness. And that is a figurative interpretation of Gochara. It's not the literal interpretation, but it's the figurative interpretation. So it's a way of explaining different levels of development of the mind.
Dạ, con cảm ơn bác John.
So don't
Thank
be
you so
confused
much,
by
John.
the term Gochara, which
Yeah.
is the literal meaning of which is resort, but it is a way of referring to the realities that should be the object of understanding at its deepest level.
Dạ, con cảm ơn bác John. Nghe đi nghe lại cái điều này cũng được nhiều số lần, nhưng mà hình như mỗi lần nghe nó được hiểu thêm một chút. Thank you so much, John and Sarah, for the explanation. I think I've heard this quite a few times, but never enough. And every time we listen, we kind of understand a little bit more. So thank you so much. And this is only my side question. I do have another question, but I'm not sure whether Ajahn has some thing to say. Please.
Yes. Can the object be a result? We're talking about the object, right? There must be object
Yes, Ajahn.
each moment. Can it be a result, whatever object, or only when there is understanding of the object?
Dạ, chỉ khi có cái hiểu còn nếu không thì các pháp nó cũng sanh diệt, nhưng mà không có hiểu gì hết thì nó không phải là cái hành xử hỗ trợ cho sự hiểu biết ạ. Ajahn, I think there's only understanding. Without the right understanding, then those objects or the realities arise and disappear all the time, but there's no such Gochara or Upanishaya Gochara at all.
That's why there are objects right now. Many objects. Are they result? Without understanding, it's not as pleasant. With right understanding at all, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's why even there is the term object of that which arises and experiences an object. It's so natural because it can be object of attachment or anger But when it is the object of understanding, that one should become used to it, on and on and on, until it is the upanisya, culture, that can be understanding of that which is now as object at different degrees. Otherwise, there is no understanding of what the object which is there from moment to moment at all. That's why it is the understanding of what is said, like with thought and so on. But there are objects in life because there must be the moment of experiencing an object arising and falling away all the time. But when there is no understanding, it's not object of upanisya. That should be habitual object. Just be accustomed to the object as it is, little by little. At moment of understanding the truth of it as it is the result better than other moment at all. Is that right? So there are the terms upa, nisya, and kojara. Kojara is the object, but not all object, which is not object of understanding. But anything, any reality, any object, which is the object of understanding, is kojara, that Buddha and his disciple experience from the development of understanding to that degree. That's why if there's no understanding at all, how can the object right now be the habitual object to understand the truth of it? Because usually in a day, the object is the object of attachment and ignorance and other akusala, not as the upanisya kojara to understand the truth of it. So there are special terms like upanisya kojara, any object which is the object of understanding. If there's no understanding right now of the truth of the object, it just be the object, not the kojara, the habitual, that there should be more and more moments of developing understanding of the truth. So when one comes to the term upanisya kojara, it's a moment of understanding why it's kojara and why it is upa and nisya kojara, to be the object of understanding little by little, developed on and on and on, until it becomes a habit, not as at the moment, the habits of thinking about what is there all day as before, not understanding. But when it's the object of understanding the truth of it, it should be the habitual object, rather than just seeing, no understanding the truth of it. That's why any reality which is the object of understanding, not just once or twice, as much as it becomes habit, we use the word upanisya kojara. Is that the meaning of what is there in the Tipitaka that Kun Jonathan just read about it? That's why we can study just one meaning, one word, and then the condition more moment of considering the truth, conform with the word in Tipitaka, and understand the meaning of what is there as Upanishad Kojara, or Arakha Kojara, or Upanibandha Kojara. The word of truth or the object of understanding. Otherwise, what is the object of understanding if it's not right now?
Yeah. Yes, Ajahn. So now I understand. Xin lỗi, con nói tiếng Việt chưa? Như vậy thì có nghĩa là có nhiều đối tượng lắm, nhưng mà khi các đối tượng đó, nó không phải là đối tượng của cái hiểu, mà nó là đối tượng của dính mắc hay là của tham, của sân gì đó, thì lúc đó không thể nói nó là hành xứ, mà chỉ khi có cái hiểu thì mình mới gọi đó là các cái hành xứ, thì lúc đó các cái đối tượng nó mới là hành xứ. So to my understanding now, after hearing your explanation, there are many objects out there all the time. But if those objects are object of attachment or aversion or other akusala citta, then we wouldn't call gochara those objects. We wouldn't address those objects as gochara. But if there is correct understanding, even though this is intellectual understanding, then those objects can be called gochara, or if repeating many times, then it's become upanisaya gochara.
So the
Can I just
object
add?
please.
Sorry, John, you go ahead, please.
Jonathan.
I'll just be quite brief. Leanne,
Yeah.
it's not necessary to think or to figure out if there is some kusala or some level of understanding which gochara it is. That's not the reason why this explanation is given. The explanation is given because people wonder what is the proper conduct and resort for a bhikkhu or for a person. What is it good to do? Good. What are the right people to associate with, the right places to go? And this is the explanation. The right resort for anyone is the consciousness that is kusala, and especially with understanding of the something to do with the true nature of reality. So it may be at either of those three levels, but it's not necessary for us to try and think of is this present kusala, which of the gochara is it? That is not the reason why we talk about the gocharas. Yeah, thanks.
Cảm ơn John ạ. Thank you, Jonathan.
Sorry for interrupting, John. Please go ahead.
Ajahn, are you there?
So should the object of ignorance and attachment be accumulated? But the object of understanding at moment when there is understanding would be the habitual gochara, the new habits, the habits of considering, understanding what is there now before it can be known. For example, even it's there right now, not out of the body, but no one thought about it as what is what. But should it be known, each word is there about it. At moment when citta experiences what is there any understanding or no understanding? So the object is the same, but the habits of experiencing with ignorance and attachment is accumulated so much that it's not known as it is. That's why it begins to understand any object right now. When there is the understanding, it's different from when it's not understanding at all. When it's not understood, it becomes habits to have it with ignorance on and on. That's why the same object is the Upanishad Gochara. When understand that it can be understood. There can be the understanding of the truth of any object. So the object is the habitual kotra when it's more and more and more accumulated and developed.
Yeah, Ajahn. Yes, Ajahn.
So the kotra is the word for aramana, but when it is the habitual, it has to be when there's understanding and it becomes habit with understanding of whatever is there little by little. It is the kotra to be habitual kotra of understanding.
Yeah, Ajahn.
For
Aramana
example,
là
visible object now is seen. Is it the object of understanding, or is it just the object of attachment and ignorance? Only when it's the object of understanding does it become the gotra. And upanisya refers to the habit, like we have pakatu upanisya pachya, which is the decisive support condition. We're referring to how different chittas and chetasikas accumulate, like the more attachment accumulates. So here, upanisya gotra refers to the object which habitually becomes the object of understanding, not by wishing, but from the wise considering and understanding of its nature, and by the development of upanisya gotra, by the development of understanding, wise reflection about the true nature of particular realities, the understanding and kusala becomes a protection. It becomes a protection from clinging to those objects or having ignorance as normal. So it is understanding that gradually leads to more protection from the usual habitual kilesa, defilements that usually arise. And it leads to the Upanibandha Gotra, the direct understanding of these same realities that have become the Gotra of understanding. So this is the anchoring Jonathan referred to. It leads to the anchoring with understanding that directly knows the nature of these realities, that there is the habit of understanding and considering wisely.
Sarah, cũng giống như là mình, cái này là cái suy nghĩ của Lan Khánh khi nghe cô Sarah nói, là giống như là một cái thói quen mới vậy. Nếu mà mình được nghe nhiều hơn về các thực tại và có cái hiểu hơn, thì dần dần có giống như là có một cái thói quen mới cho tâm nó suy xét về các thực tại nhiều hơn, và nó có thể là lấn át cái thói quen cũ là chỉ là đối tượng của mình về các câu chuyện, về dính mắc về các khái niệm. Sarah, after hearing you, I feel that the more we understand about the Dhamma, about reality, the more new habit is formed, which is for, I mean, here is for the chitta to attend to reality more and more. So it becomes like a new habit, which may become dominant and pushing away the old habit. Like I got that feeling when I heard you. I don't know if that's the right thinking.
So it's a very slow and gradual path, but there becomes gradually more interest in listening to the truth, more interest in understanding what life is, more interest in understanding the realities now, rather than following all the usual stories about people and things all the time as we're used to. And it's only this understanding that becomes more habitual that leads to, as Jonathan mentioned, the anchoring, the Upanibandha, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So the 4 foundations of mindfulness refers to the direct understanding, satipatthana, the understanding of any rupas, any vedana, any chittas, any dhammas at all that are conditioned to appear now, but without the habit of considering wisely. If anyone thinks they can just sit and focus and concentrate and have satipatthana, it's impossible, because there has to be the habit of understanding realities as realities, dhammas as dhammas that appear. No one there, no thing there, no one to do anything. And it's only this understanding that leads to the development of satipatthana and the right path, the direct understanding and insight later on.
Yeah, cảm ơn cô Sarah. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yeah. Let me see if anyone wanna ask any question. Có ai trong Zoom hay ở đây có muốn nói tiếp với cái ý này hay là muốn phát biểu gì không? Lý muốn nói phải không? Lý nói tiếng Anh luôn hay ông nói tiếng Việt trước?
Dạ, cô Sarah và chú John, cho con hỏi là khi tham là đối tượng của hiểu biết thì lúc đó tham có phải là hành xứ hỗ trợ mà?
John and Sarah, I have a question. When Loba arises, but then it become object of understanding. So can we say Loba in this case is Upanisaya Gochara?
When it becomes the object of understanding again and again, when there is more familiarity, more the habit of understanding its nature when it appears, then it is Upanisya Gochara, like visible object or sound or hardness or any other reality. So that's why one shouldn't be concerned about Loba arising, because when it arises, there is the opportunity for understanding to understand its nature. So no matter kusala, akusala, seeing, hearing, what is seen, what is heard, any reality appearing now can become the object that's habitually understood. And I remember last week, there was a question about what is real for anyone new to the group. And I remember Ajahn asked, what is there now? Well, Loba is now, seeing is now, hearing is now. So there can begin to be the understanding of these realities as dhammas, not my Loba. We don't have to say it's the Buddha's teachings. We don't have to say it's a nama. We don't have to say it's a cetasika. But it has a characteristic, the clinging, the wanting to have, and there can be understanding of it here and now, even during the Dhamma discussion, countless moments of Loba. So it can become the Upanisya Gochara, the object that is the object to be understood again and again. And these are the truths that the Buddha was enlightened to, the nature of these different dhammas in daily life to be understood and to be understood more and more.
Dạ con đã
So
hiểu
it's-
hơn rồi ạ.
Yeah, I have a bit more understanding about this. Thank you.
So it's not a matter of trying to understand more or trying to catch different objects to be understood, different gotra, but the understanding itself develops naturally and begins to get used to what can be known now, that it's actually just what is visible that is seen now. It's just hardness that is touched now, or heat or cold, if one's touching the cold glass. So gradually there's more getting accustomed, more familiarity with what life really is at this moment. So this is why it's not just a matter of how much we read or how much we listen, but understanding what appears now, anytime, no matter while working or shopping or lying down. There is always the object that there can be more understanding of, that can be the Upanishya Gotra.
I think Lee,
And the main point
is-
also is it's without selection. If one thinks one just would like to understand metta because one wants to be good, or one would like to understand generosity because one wants to be the generous person, this is not Upanishya Gotra. This is clinging to having metta, clinging to generosity. The nature of understanding that becomes familiar to different objects is understanding what appears, but without selection, without minding whether it's lobha or hardness or whatever reality appears now.
Thank you, Sarah. I think Lee is having a question now. Mời bạn Lý.
Vâng, con xin hỏi câu hỏi bằng tiếng Việt trước ạ. I want to ask in Vietnamese first. Yeah. Tức là trong đời sống hàng ngày thì mình, nhất là đặc biệt những người học Pháp ấy, thì là cũng muốn có cuộc sống kiểu là theo hướng là đời sống phạm hạnh. Tức là, và em đang nhớ đến cái câu về thiểu dục tri túc, thì là vì mọi người không hiểu rõ cái ý nghĩa thiểu dục tri túc một cách theo cái sự thực chân đế ấy, thì mọi người sẽ dễ dẫn đến việc là thực hành, là cố gắng sống một cuộc sống là đơn giản, rồi là theo kiểu là cách hiểu của họ. Vậy thì cho em hỏi là theo như lời dạy của Đức Phật thì có cách hiểu nào về thiểu dục tri túc là theo cách hiểu mình hiểu thế nào là đúng ấy, mình hiểu theo cách hiểu nào là đúng. So I want to ask another question, another topic about the few wishes and contentment. Because in daily life we often trying to do something in the good way, especially who following up with Buddha teaching. So we want to practice some like about in daily life, and but without understanding, we think that what we behave in the correct way like this is the good practice. But I want to ask what the right understanding about the few wishes and contentment. Thank you.
It comes down to understanding now what is conditioned now already. Seeing, hearing, experiencing pleasant or unpleasant objects through the body sense. Is there contentment with whatever is conditioned, or is there wishing for another visible object, another sound, another taste, another feeling through the body sense? So contentment means learning to understand and be detached from whatever is conditioned. The fewer the wishes, the less the clinging, the less disturbance and difficulty in life. But without understanding dhammas as anatta, while it's I, and there is the idea that I can control, I can change what is heard, I can change what is seen, I can change my bodily experience, there will always be more and more wishing and less contentment. As you mentioned, wanting to practice, wanting to understand, wanting to behave in a certain way, wanting to have metta, wanting to have more generosity. It sounds good, but this is the opposite of contentment. This is more and more wishing, which leads to more and more difficulty and unhappiness in life. So it's actually only the development of the right path, only the understanding of dhammas as conditioned and anatta that can lead to more contentment. And perhaps Ajahn would like to add more on any of these topics.
Can anyone do anything without understanding? Just want to follow this way and that way without any understanding. So the most important to understand that what is right, it has to be understanding what is there as it is, from hearing and considering. No thought about I follow this way or that way, or I try to be study or develop understanding. No one can try. Right understanding develops each moment of understanding the truth of what is there, little by little. And that is so natural way. No thought about doing this and that in order to follow the path. Just what is there now? Is there any attention to the truth of it, to understand a little more of the truth of it, which is different from the other one? Each reality has its own characteristic. For example, seeing is only a reality right now, but why there's not enough understanding of it? Because the wise attention or the wise considering is not wise enough to understand the truth that actually the nature of that which arises and see is the truth of a moment, no one there at all. But one is not used to understand the truth of it. Just think about seeing as seeing only. Seeing is seeing. But what about the reality which sees, that we say seeing? The reality which arises from birth and falling away at moment when it arises is fall away instantly. Is it known now that it's not there anymore? What appears now is different from just a moment ago, and the truth can be developed firmer and firmer, and that is the only way to let go. Not I will do this or I'll try to follow this or that at all, but the moment of understanding the truth is the only reality that letting go, ignorance and attachment, and the idea of trying to do or to follow this path or that path. Are we now following the path? See, no need to think about it. But the understanding a little more is the development of the path. That's why we talk about seeing again and again, because we have talked about it. But what about the understanding of the seeing, which is not that which is seen? Is there any moment different from just seeing or thinking about that which is seen, and just the idea of seeing that it's a reality which experiences the visible object, a reality but the nature of that reality is not attended to. It's not attended yet. Is it true? The nature of seeing is not attended because it's only sound like it's so very simple seeing. Everyone understands seeing, but in truth, just say seeing, but the nature of seeing, does it appear to be known? That's why there must be higher development of understanding to the degree that the nature of that which experience the object is known, or is the object of understanding, little by little. Upa Nisaya Kochara. So in a day, there can be moment of understanding the difference between moment without Upa Nisaya Kochara, but there are different aramana all day. Which moment is a moment of developing Upa Nisaya Kochara, attending to the characteristic which now sees, to understand the difference between that which is seen and the reality which sees it. Which one is Upanisya Kojara right now? And when there's no understanding of the meaning of Upanisya Kojara, there cannot be any condition for Upanisya Kojara to develop.
And Lee, if I could just add a couple of words, please. You talked about, first of all, nice to see you, Lee, and thanks for the question. You talked about fewness of wishes and contentment, and you said that we know how to try to do things in a good way, but what about fewness of wishes and contentment? So I think what you are highlighting here is that it's not really possible to do fewness of wishes. It's something that just happens. It's according to our nature, to what extent we can be content with how things are in our life and not want to have more or greater, better experiences and so forth. So from that, I think we can appreciate that, as Ajahn and Sarah have been saying, when understanding develops, so do the wholesome mental states that would support fewness of wishes and contentment. And if we think about it, the same has to apply to doing things in a good way. It will always depend on, first of all, our accumulated tendencies as they are, and secondly, the level of understanding. So much as we might try to do things in a better way than we have been, that cannot be with more kusala than there is already. Of course, hearing the Dhamma and reflecting on what the Buddha had to say about the value of kusala can be a condition for some development in that regard. But we should not make the mistake of thinking that by doing things in a better way in our daily life, that the path is being developed, because the development of the path depends on the understanding of realities that appear, not on how much kusala there is in how we live life on a daily, day-to-day basis. And also, let's not forget that even that everyone is different according, as I said, to their accumulated tendencies. And even among enlightened beings, there is a vast range of different tendencies. The enlightened being who is just a Sotapanna can still lead a normal household life, have a family, have children and bring up a family, and work and do all these things. And are we to say that so it doesn't depend on the level of understanding is one thing, and the degree of fewness of wishes is another matter altogether. A person, for example, who does lead a normal family life is by some measures not a person who has fewness of wishes, yet that person could be enlightened. And even among the arahats, there were those who lived a solitary life with little association, little contact with other people, and there were those who lived a more communal life and had a lot of contact and association with other people. So, in short, what needs to be considered is the development of understanding. And we live our daily life naturally as we have been, much as we have been. Of course, there may be some changes, who can say, but just by conditions, just naturally, and not because of trying to do things better, to reduce our wishes and to have more contentment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zon, Achan, and Sarah. And what you have explained is very, very helpful and very, I think, very important. And the reason why I raised this question because yesterday and today we are talking about some phenomenon that the people want to see the results when following up with the Buddha teaching, and they say that if they saw someone don't have the good behavior, they think that is not the right development. So what you mentioned about the each people have different accumulation, and also we cannot adjust the another people if we don't know the how the understanding develop from them. Yeah, I think it's a very good reminder. Vâng, tức là con cũng muốn cảm ơn Achan, Sarah và John thì nhắc nhở về cái phần hiểu biết về cái phần tiểu dục tri túc ạ. Thì lý do con đặt câu hỏi bởi vì là trong pháp đàm ở Sài Gòn thì mình cũng có trao đổi về các cái hiện tượng là mọi người rất dễ dàng đưa ra một cái công thức là tức là thấy là những con người này đã không có những cái cư xử tốt hoặc là cư xử không đúng với kiểu theo cái định nghĩa là kiểu thiểu dục tri túc, hoặc là theo như trong kinh sách ấy, thì mọi người sẽ bảo đấy là không phải là con đường phát triển đúng. Thì cách mà John có chia sẻ thì là một lời nhắc nhở, là nghĩa là cái tích lũy của mỗi người sẽ khác nhau và mình không thể là kiểu là tự gán cho là người này người kia đang phát triển sai hay đúng, mà cái đấy là phụ thuộc vào cái mức độ hiểu biết của cái người đấy. Vâng, con rất là tri ân lời dạy của ba vị ạ. Vâng.
I think because of our ignorance and clinging, we're very quick to think about the others and their accumulations and to judge their deeds and behavior instead of understanding our own chittas now. So, like you say, everyone has different habits, different accumulations, but whilst thinking about them or judging them, what is the chitta now? Is there kindness? Is there understanding of what appears now? Or just thinking about the story of others? As you say, people would like to see results, but it's not just the others. What about now? What about the wishing to understand what is said or trying to understand? Lobha is there all the time, even when we have Dhamma discussion, trying to catch the meaning, trying to be aware, trying to find the Upanishya Gochara. So there's lobha after seeing, hearing, instantly, all the time, all day. We don't need to think about the others because it's here and now. We don't have to mind about the others' habits, or if others judge our habits and say this isn't the way, that's okay. That's by their accumulations. There can be kindness and understanding. Each has their own way of thinking. But what's important is understanding here and now, not the thinking about the story about them and us and their wrong practices and their habits, but what about at this very moment? Otherwise, we spend all day thinking about the others and thinking about their wrong ways instead of just understanding what appears at this very moment. So the one that judges the other makes a lot of trouble, causes a lot of trouble.
Dạ, con nghe cô Sarah nói chỗ này con cũng có một cái ý là có nghĩa là thiểu dục và tri túc cũng chỉ là một cái khoảnh khắc, chứ không phải là nói một con người đó biết thích ít hay là biết đủ. Để con nói tiếng Anh. Sarah, so it is not about a person, but it's about a moment. When we say fewer wishes and contentment, it's about that moment, right? The quality of the chitta at that moment, not about a person having less wishes and feel contented with their whatever they have. It's not about that. It's about the quality of the chitta at the moment.
For a moment only, like at the moment of understanding, at that moment, there is contentment because there is the detachment from what is conditioned. There's no clinging, but it's for a moment. This is why it has to become habitual. It has to accumulate over lifetimes. If there is, would we wish to have more contentment now, to have fewer wishes? Of course, but this is just more clinging to the story of I having more contentment in life, instead of just understanding that wishing here and now at this very moment. So it always comes back to a moment, to understanding what appears now, understanding how this is the only way that actually leads to more contentment in life, through understanding. Otherwise, if it's I trying to be more contented, trying to have less clinging, trying to have more Upanishya Gochara, it just leads to more and more clinging to oneself.
Thank you, Sarah.
And what is the nature of contentment? Is it real? What is it?
Not no attachment. Aloba. Is that right, Ajahn?
Can it be?
Có nghĩa là vô tham phải không, Ajahn?
Can it be moment of subtle attachment? What is the nature of contentment? What is the reality of it?
Con không biết, Ajahn. Con nghĩ lúc nãy con nói con tưởng là vô tham, nhưng mà thật sự con không biết. Ajahn, I don't think I understand it. I thought, like I said earlier, it is Aloba, but can you please enlighten me?
So that cannot be Kojara, Upanishya Kojara, right? No understanding of it.
Ajahn giúp con hiểu cái điều này. Ajahn, can you help explain what is the reality of contentment?
Leanne, you said that you thought that non-attachment, aloba, was the reality of contentment. And then Ajahn asked you, so if there's subtle attachment, could that be contentment? Can contentment be when there's subtle attachment? So perhaps you could answer that question. It's obvious.
Con nghĩ đã có dính mắc thì đâu có thể gọi là tri túc được. Nhưng mà thực tế thì khoảnh khắc nào cũng hiện giờ cũng có dính mắc. Thậm chí nhưng mà ở lúc tâm thiện thì không có dính mắc. I'm a bit confused, John. I was thinking that if there is some attachment, even subtle attachment, it's not contentment.
Okay, so that's the answer you give to Ajahn. That's the answer to her question.
So can we say what reality is it?
Aloba, Ajahn, did I make myself clear earlier? Aloba, non-attachment.
Please give example.
At the moment of generosity, ở khoảnh khắc có sự cho đi bố thí, thì con nghĩ ở khoảnh khắc đó là không có dính mắc. Hoặc là nói chung là ở khoảnh khắc của tâm thiện. Ajahn, I think at the moment of kusala, then it can be contentment.
Now or when?
Not at the moment, but at the moment of understanding. At the moment of understanding, I think it is also a moment of contentment.
So contentment is ajetasika? Or the moment of kusala?
Vậy là con nghĩ nó là khoảnh khắc của thiện chứ nó không phải là một tâm sở. I think it is not a Chatasika. But when the citta is kusala, then it is contentment.
Leanne, you could consider passing this question to Lee because it was she who raised the point. Are you there, Lee?
Xin mời Lý.
Can anyone who does not understand any truth at all be contentment?
Nếu có ai đó mà không hiểu cái thực tại của tri túc mà có thể tri túc không? Không hiểu.
No Achan không ạ?
No Achan.
Really? Can it be without panya?
Nếu mà tri túc thực sự thì là phải có cái hiểu ạ. If the right contentment, at that time it should have understanding.
What do you mean by the right contentment?
Because I want to separate the meaning of normal contentment with the wrong understanding. Tức là con muốn tách biệt với cách hiểu bình thường với tri túc với cách hiểu sai ấy.
So any reality appearing, what can be known about the truth of it? Basically.
Tức là cái thực tại đấy sẽ sinh và diệt và không tức là theo duyên chứ không phải là kiểm soát bởi ai. Thì lúc có cái hiểu đấy thì có sự xả ly và lúc đấy có ký túc. At the moment when we understand the reality arise and fall away, it's by condition, no one can do anything. At that moment is the contentment.
So as much as what we can say about is it's a reality, right?
Vâng, yes.
And a little more understanding is that which experience the object. That's the way to let go the idea of I doubt or I know or I understand. So we think about many words and we think that the meaning of each word is about the truth. But when the truth is there, it can be known as it's just a reality which experiences the object at that moment as its nature appears, right?
Yes.
Or do you have to say anything about that? Or it's there experienced with understanding that it's just a reality?
At moment we understand that it's just only Dhamma. I think that is the right development.
And that Dhamma cannot be changed at all. Is that true? Does it need any word to understand it? Or as soon as it's there, there is doubt about what it's called?
Tức là thực tế thì nó là không thay đổi, nhưng mà do cái vô minh cho nên mình có hoài nghi và mình nghĩ nó không đúng như bản chất của sự thật ạ. At the moment, in reality, is this only Dhamma? Thus, the characteristic is no change, but because of without understanding, we think that it changed, and we can control.
Cannot or can?
Cannot, không thể ạ.
And when there's no understanding, what is there? Which can
vô
be
minh
known
ạ.
but not known.
It's with the understanding. It's ignorant.
Is there any understanding of ignorance that is there as a reality?
Lúc mà được nghe giảng thì mình hiểu, nhưng mà nếu mà không suy xét thì mình không hiểu ạ. When we listen what you explain, we can understand intellectually, but when we consider and we don't know, there is ignorance there.
That's why there are 3 stages of understanding the area subject. Right?
Yes, but
How subtle it is when it's there. Unknown. And even what is there is not known. Ignorance and doubt. That's why there can be the understanding of the word about it. But when time comes, what about the understanding that we have learned? It's not enough to understand the truth, or it can understand instantly. But so very little at a time. This is the subtlety of all Dhammas, so very subtle. That's why we learn to understand the nature, the truth of what is there, not just the word about it. But without understanding the meaning of each word about it, how can there be the understanding of the nature of that which is now appearing? But it's so very little about seeing or thinking or doubt or contentment. The best thing is understanding just one reality a little more, until it's clear understanding that it is just the characteristic of that only one reality. When it's there appearing only, not when it's not there and just talking about it. Is this also the developing of Upanishyakochara? What is the object to be Upanishyakochara right now? What is there in life according to the teachings of the Buddha? Even the development of understanding about culture. Otherwise, it seems like we understand the meaning of it. But when it's there now, what about the understanding? That's why the path is so very subtle. It takes quite a long time to develop understanding the nature of it, which is heard about for a long time.
Em còn nhắn tiếp gì không?
So we can understand the subtlety of even the culture. It's there in life, little by little. It's not just remember the word, no doubt about the word, but what about this moment? Visible object can gradually be the Upanishyakochara, little by little. Any reality, exactly the same.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ajahn, for the invaluable reminders and explanation. Con muốn xin được hỏi Ajahn con cảm ơn Ajahn về những lời nhắc nhở vô giá và những lời dạy của bà. Nhưng con muốn hỏi lại để con chắc là con có hiểu đúng hay không về cái lúc nãy con nói về cái phần mà chữ biết đủ đó, có nghĩa là nó không phải là một tâm sở mà nó chỉ là khi tâm là thiện là ở đó là có sự biết đủ, có phải như vậy không ạ? Ajahn, John and Sarah, I just want to reconfirm whether my understanding is correct. Earlier on, when we talk about contentment, Ajahn asked me whether it is a Cetasika. And I said, no, it's not a Cetasika, but it is a state of kusala. So there's a kusala chitta, regardless there's a understanding or with or without understanding. But if the chitta is kusala, then there is contentment. Is that correct or not correct?
Leanne, you said one or two different things because you also talked about aloba. So when there is aloba, the opposite of attachment, detachment, we're referring to a cetasika. So actually this was quite a good answer because at moments of attachment, Ajahn asked, what about when there's subtle attachment? When there's even the most subtle of attachment, there's no contentment. There's udacha at those moments, clinging at that moment. So after seeing now, after hearing, usually subtle attachment instantly, no contentment. So only at moments of kusala is there aloba and other wholesome cetasikas. So it's actually referring to the wholesome cetasikas at moments of kusala, including aloba. When there is panya, understanding, there is contentment, no clinging, no ignorance at those moments, no restlessness. The citta is calm, the cetasikas are calm at those moments. So Ajahn asked, what about when there is no understanding, but kusala? So even at moments of metta or generosity, without understanding, there is contentment, no clinging, no restlessness, no disturbance. But without understanding, it cannot be known when the citta is calm, when there is attachment. So the development of kusala, the development of contentment, the development of calm depends on understanding more and more about the truth at this very moment. Like we mentioned, when clinging, it's now. When wishing for results, it's not the other people in the meditation center. What about now? What about trying to understand, wishing to understand? No contentment at those moments. So it's now in daily life. So it doesn't really matter what term we use, but there can be a little more understanding of what life is here and now.
Just very short question, Khun Sara. Can I?
Yes, Chao. Quick
Okay,
one.
I just a little bit confused about the idea of self. At the time, for example, at the moment, they kindness to the Dhamma friend nearby. So they have to a specific creature in the conventional world. So how about the idea of self at this moment, Khun Sara? At this moment,
Yes.
at this
What
moment,
about
when the object of the, for example, for immeasurable, we have a specific creature in the conventional world. So at this moment, how about the idea of self? When we think about the people, the specific people.
So this question comes up from time to time. People wonder if the object of metta is a being, what about the idea of self, right? That's your question, I think. There's not a short answer to this. I think it needs a bit of discussion. And as we have already passed the time of the end of the session, I think we should carry it over. But it's a good topic to discuss, and I think it's one worth coming back to again and again, a bit like Gochara.
Yeah,
but if you don't mind, I think we should put it off for now.
Yeah.
Come on, Sawadika Ajan.
Sawadika, Chan Ajahn,
everywhere.
Pratika,
John,
Chan.
Sarah,
Thank you
and
very